and let us all do we can to build a better future. So we all know that there's an economic collapse waiting for us. And now we're seeing firsthand another disaster happening. So our friends at Morning Blow discuss the hypocrisy of bailing out elites versus bailing out regular people. What? Oh my God, they're actually talking about bailing out regular working class citizens? Holy crap, we could have used this in 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and all those years. Jeez Louise, now they're talking about it. They're talking about it. They're speaking about it. Why? What's going on? Because apparently now again, we have not one, but 3 banks that went belly up. So here are our friends at Morning Blow talking about it. And look, it's everybody's favorite progressive lawmaker, Khanna, in the mix too. You know he's going to say a word salad like a typical Democrat.
We've got a culture now that socializes losses, right? And privatizes gains. And the same people that are talking about, oh, the single mom should pull herself up by her bootstraps. Oh, we've got to cut back on this welfare culture are the very people that...
What the hell are you nodding your head for, lady? Because first of all, Morning Joe, hey, did you interview a guy in 2020 who said, hey, I'd rather vote for Trump than support Bernie Sanders? And Joe was like, shh, you can't say that stuff out loud. Oh, now you care. Oh, now all of a sudden you guys care, right? Don't give me that jazz. We've seen these jagoffs in corporate media say for years, oh, no, we can't bail out the people. Medicare for all, that's too expensive. Student debt forgiveness, no, we can't do that. The banks are too big to fail. Well, guess what? People are onto the game. Quit lying.
Say, come on, you got to socialize my losses here, or the entire economy goes up in smoke. I mean, come on. It is pretty maddening. And yet it seems like that.
Why'd you take off your... Hold on. We're going to rewind that again. But this lady is like nodding her head. She looks like she's going to say something. She takes off her glasses. Looks like she's going to say something smart. And I'm talking about the one at the bottom, right? The one with, she's down by Khanna, right? Who looks like a hot dog. I saw that Mahmoud Radi. Come on, be nice. Don't be mean. Don't be mean in the live stream. But yeah, so she takes off her like, was that for dramatic effect? Come on, get out of here. What's that?
Entire economy goes up in smoke.
Takes off the glasses.
I mean, come on. It is pretty maddening. And yet it seems like they've got
that was all an act.
Over the barrel because we can't let the economy collapse. We can't have all the regional banks collapse.
We absolutely can't have the regional banks collapse. We need the regional banks, but you also have to remember who the biggest lobbyists are, who's got the loudest voices. It's the people with the deepest pockets.
Yeah, your favorite politicians and the people that own them. Gee, BSDNC, you better watch what you're saying because, you're going to get a knock on the door, lady. In fact, they're going to knock it down and say, what'd you say? Because the same people who control the Democratic Party also control corporate media.
So while we have become a culture of bailouts, not when it comes to student loan debt, where we've got people across this country straddled with tens of thousands of dollars that they have to cover.
Yeah, exactly. Gee, maybe there should have been a debt jubilee in 2020. Maybe all of those progressives and organizers were correct in stating out the American people needed a bailout. And someone else wrote, Populist Alba, those glasses don't fit her. Hey, body positivity, populace. What's wrong with you? We
ended the expanded child tax credit, which raised 40% of people in poverty, children in poverty, out of poverty, because that was simply too much for our government to spend.
Yeah. And hey, corporate media, lady, Morning Blow. Are you guys ever going to talk about how we're able to crap out billions of dollars for Ukraine? Because that's a conversation I would love to see on corporate media. Like eventually it'll be like, so yeah, we've been spending billions of dollars for this war. And well, I mean, How is it that we're able to afford that war? I never want to hear from anyone that's a diehard liberal saying, oh, I agree with Medicare for all, but it just might be too expensive. We got to wait. It's too expensive. Or from diehard Republican lawmakers who are saying, oh, we can't afford Medicare for all soon. It'll destroy our economy. Man, we're crapping out billions of dollars for Ukraine. You better start rolling out that money, kiddos. Quit looking me in the eye and telling me you broke. You got the money. You have my money. Give me my money. Hell, I'm still waiting for that stimulus check plus interest. Yes, the $2,000 stimulus check. We all want it. Yeah, the Fox News stereotype is real about Chicago, okay? Hey, Democrats, you owe the people money.
Yet when it comes to any sort of corporate bailouts, whether it's banks or airlines or industry du jour, we say, no, they employ tens of thousands of people. We have to help those companies. And what we don't do is help the individuals at the bottom. So to your point, and Andrews, it's kind of like, hey, America, pick a lane and go with it. But choosing your winners and losers, that's when we're in a truly morally hazardous place.
Oh, wow. Thanks, lady. And I saw the live stream chat. Yes, I do read the chat. Isn't that special? So we're running short on time. So here, let's talk about Warren for a second and how she gives a word salad about stuff that we already know. A word salad on how the whole system is screwing us over. I know it's everybody's favorite progressive senator, Elizabeth Warren.
The way to understand this crisis is it's really got kind of three players in it. The first is Congress and President Trump, who said, let's weaken the regulation.
It's always got to be Trump. You're turning him into a Saturday morning cartoon villain. That's what they're doing to Trump. Everything's, hey, Warren, you do realize that there was a guy named Obama in 2008 who did nothing to hold those people who led the economic collapse happen accountable. He let them go. He said we got to look forward, Warren, not backwards, forward. So you got to talk about Trump.
Regulation, which you've hit really hard. The second part is the regulators themselves, in particular, the Fed, in particular, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, who took that change in the laws, and boy, did he run with it.
Boy, oh boy. I sure hope there was never a Democratic president that got rid of Glass-Steagall, because that would have been just devastating. I hope that's not a factual statement. Oh my goodness. What a nightmare that would be. Warren. $1 million question. Who got rid of Glass-Steagall? Was it a Democratic president or a Republican president? Gee, I wonder what. It was a Democratic president.
In fact, he ran further than a lot of people even thought the law let him in tailoring the oversight of those banks in order to make it as weak as possible. And by the way, just a little side note, I very much opposed his being renominated to the Federal Reserve Bank, and the reason was exactly this.
So he got renominated, huh? Gee, don't you think you could talk to your good friend Joe Biden? You know? Don't you think you could talk to him? Oh, wait, no, you're not even allowed anywhere near the White House.
What he had done on using the opportunities he had by the change in the law.
And I want to acknowledge Go Start. Trump couldn't have done it without 50 Democratic votes, 30 House, and 17 senators. That's right. So that means 30 House Democrats and 17 Senate Democrats. So in other words, Trump had accomplices, and they were Democrats. Oh my God, Warren, are you shocked and chagrined? Because I sure am. No, I'm not.
Law in 2018 to weaken bank regulations. In my view, he was just headed in the wrong direction, and that's what made him dangerous in the position of chair of the Fed. But then there's part three, and that is those executives, those bank CEOs who lobbied hard to get this change in the law. Those are the ones who, when the window opened, wow, were they ready to go. And they went out And they decided to load up on risk. And why? They loaded up on risk because it made their banks more profitable. And that meant it made them have higher salaries. They got to rule over bigger banks. They got big bonuses. They brought in their friends. And they did all that by taking on more risk. And it worked.
Hey, Warren, I wonder, in 2008, all these people who led the economic collapse that happened, that impacted millions upon millions of Americans. Gee, were any of them ever held accountable for their crimes? Oh, wait, no, they were not. Look, I get it. I get that Trump's a scumbag. I don't like him either. Okay? However, the purpose of the show is to inform all of you, because I believe all of you are intelligent and smart enough to look up this information yourselves. And even you guys will be horrified with what you find, that both parties, didn't matter who was in control of the White House, allowed Wall Street and the banks to get away with murder, impacting all of our communities. So it doesn't matter who sits in the White House. And yes, you can see the diehard Democratic voters or diehard Republican voters that are still brainwashed saying, my party, the Democrats, care about freedom and respect, and we're going to bring in regulations and everything's going to be fine. No, that's not how it works, because the Democrats are owned by corporations and the banks. And the Republican Party, my party cares about freedom. No, they don't. Freedom for their donors, not freedom for you. So in other words, it's easy to blame Trump. He's their Saturday morning cartoon villain. But things were going on before that orange Cheeto got into the White House. You know, in Trump's defense, and there's a quote from The Simpsons when Homer was teaching Bart how to shave, and Bart actually knocked down the barber kit. You know, it was like that when I got here. Yeah. Trump, he found the system. It was like that when he got here. Why? Because previous Democratic and Republican presidential administrations opened the door for Wall Street and the big banks and those executives that Warren likes to talk about. They've been doing this for years before Trump got into that place.
Worked. SVB increased its profitability of the last 3 years by 40%.
No.
They took on all that risk, made themselves more profitable right up to the day that the bank exploded. And that's the whole story. Part one,
No, that's not the whole story. You ripped out a page from the book and I want it back. Tell the whole story, Warren. Tell the whole story if you got the courage.
Congress, part two, the regulators, and part three, the executives who took advantage of this.
Well, people around the country watching this right.
Screw Google says, Kit is a sexist. I know because Warren told me that Kit said women can't be president. Dude, I was called a sexist for not voting for Hillary Clinton in 2016 because I voted for Dr. Jill Stein. I was called a sexist because I voted for another woman in the 2016 election. I was even called a racist. I was called bigoted. I was a misogynist. How can I be a sexist and a misogynist if I voted for Dr. Jill Stein? What? How is that possible? The mental gymnastics of vote blue. Scrooge, I love you, buddy. Mahmoud Radi says, shame on you, Kit. You know what? I might as well roll with it. Yeah, I said it. Come and get me. Hey, you know what? Might as well, while I'm saying some controversial statements, the humans in Avatar committed no crimes. The planet Alderaan in Star Wars had it coming. All right. Grand Moff Tarkin did the universe a favor, and I believe it. And then finally, the God Emperor of mankind in 40K protects. He is the one true savior of humanity. There you go. All right. All right. There you go. There you go. Take that to the bank. Yes, I said it.
Right now. And I think people around the country trust you on these issues because this is how we all get to know you as a public figure in the first place, was explaining
a professional liar.
These difficult and scary things, particularly in moments of crisis. People around the country watching you right now who don't have deposits at Silvergate or at Silicon Valley Bank or at Signature, may not have even heard of some of these banks, have their deposits in other community banks or in big banks. They're wondering if this is a problem that is specific to the tech industry, which is the Silicon Valley Bank, and the crypto industry, which seems to have been tied to Signature and to Silvergate, these other banks. People are wondering if this is something that's confined to sort of niche areas of the economy, or if this is something that these same kind of criticisms that you're describing apply to other kinds of banks and potentially even bigger banks as well.
So,
hey, let's have democracy in the chat. How much you want to bet that good old Rachel Maddow misses those Russiagate stories? I mean, those were her bread and butter. I mean, she made a killing in the views between 2016 and 2020 with Russiagate. You know, because now she can't really talk about it as much. I bet she misses those days. Like, oh God, I remember that. That was my adrenaline boost. Now here she is talking to Warren, probably the most boring politician ever. Yeah, I said it.
when you talked about regulation, one little twist on it is that we really have had, since Dodd-Frank, a kind of two-tier regulatory system. One for the community banks that is pretty light touch regulation. It says.
And by the way, yeah, speaking of which, not just knowing, now Maddow did her homework because she didn't know what the F was happening when it came to the Rage Against the War Machine rally. Yeah, I talked about that on the show too. She said it was just really weird. Really, really weird. Okay, so enough listening to Warren because I'm about to snap. I'm going to have blood pressure happen. You know, my heart's going to blow up listening to her. Professional liar here. So let's listen to good old Khanna. Khanna. Hold on, wait. You know what? Sometimes Khanna can be a real pain, but all right. Let's just hear what this jagoff has to say, and we'll be all right. Hold on. Hey, it's Morning Blow again. What's up?
Yeah, let's bring in right now Democratic member of both the House Oversight and Armed Services Committee.
Oh, hey, this guy, the human hot dog.
Congressman Khanna of California. He represents the heart of Silicon Valley. So, of course, it's all Roe's fault and the fault of Roe's constituents. The crypto crisis, now Silicon Valley. No, you know what's so interesting about this? And I'm so glad you're here so you can provide insight. What's so fascinating is if this had been a regional bank, let's say in the Deep South, if this had been a regional bank in the Midwest, people would just say, oh, yokels, local yokels, they don't know how to run their business. Blah, blah. This was in the heart of Silicon.
Is that a dig at community banks and credit unions? Because I got to tell you, Morning Blow, community banks and credit unions have a better standing than these larger, big tech corporate banks. I'm just throwing it out there.
Valley, right? These were people that should have known better, and yet they've been exposed in the crypto crisis. Now they've been exposed. I guess we call this inflation crisis. What did the
Jamie, you wrote, I like big banks and I cannot lie. Those other brothers can't deny. When a crash comes down in financial space and it blows up in your face, you get sprung. You win the live stream chat today, buddy.
These giants of tech industry, what did these bankers, what did they not see coming? What did they get so terribly wrong?
Joe, they made a couple of mistakes. First, the mistake was they didn't have a chief risk officer. They had these long bonds because they wanted the
Hold on. Let's listen to this word salad while this guy is describing a crime scene. See, now, if Khanna actually had money in SVB, oh, he would be going on a warpath. But no, here he is just gently explaining they didn't have this and that. Get ready, folks. Get ready, folks. You might lose any of your cognitive ability to sit through this. So viewer discretion should be advised. Word salad is happening in 3, 2, 1.
Higher interest rates. And as Stephanie said, when the rapid rate hikes happened, those bonds lost value, and they had short-term deposits. They had 90% in tech. Tech started to pull out money, both because of the crypto crisis and because of higher interest rates, and they didn't diversify. But one of the problems is that they lobbied to weaken the Dodd-Frank restrictions. I voted against weakening it. They lobbied me and others to weaken them, to exempt them from the regulations.
Dodd-Frank, which was pretty weak. You know what should have stayed around. You know what should have remained was this thing called Glass-Steagall. Huh. I think there was a guy named Bill Clinton who was president around that time. And interesting enough, when he got into office, Glass-Steagall went bye-bye. Huh. I wonder, did that help lead to the economic crisis that we're facing in right now? Huh. 2 + 2 = 4? 1 + 1 = 2?
That could have prevented this crisis.
Yeah, and Stephanie, I'd love to get your insight on this because there's been a debate raging over the past day or two.
Oh, hey, look, isn't that so special? Isn't that so special? What's she going to tell us?
About whose fault it was for this happening. And it seems to me that
Dramatic taking off your glasses. Well done. Awesome effect.
all these so-called libertarians who, of course, still want bailouts, they're saying, oh, no, it had nothing to do with the deregulation in 2018. It had nothing to do with the capital requirements for this bank. Nothing to do with that at all. Look elsewhere. I'm curious, where do you fall on this debate? And then we'll ask the congressman.
Okay, here's squarely where I fall. And while I totally appreciate the political debate of blaming Democrats or blaming Republicans, I blame Silicon Valley Bank and the executives who are paid millions of dollars to run the joint. And I'm sorry, they didn't have a chief risk officer at the time. Well, why the hell not? And where was the board? And where was the executive?
Hey, you got to watch your tone. All right. You're on MSNBC because, their corporate donors be like, quit raising your voice. All right. You're supposed to be like, oh, what a shame. There's a murder that happened. Don't know how it happened. And ignore the writing on the wall that's written in blood that says, I will return. Just disregard that.
Committee. There's absolutely no excuse for this. And where was Goldman Sachs, their very highly paid advisor, telling them to go out, sell securities at a loss, and then tell the market? Mistakes across the board. Now, politically, yes, because part of Dodd-Frank was rolled back, that meant small and regional banks could take more risk. But Joe, that's a complicated one because when Dodd-Frank was implemented, there's something called regulatory capture, where the big banks can afford as much regulation as you want to pile on them. But for smaller banks, they can't. And that squeezes them out of the market. And we don't want to be in a situation where we've only got 4 giant banks and nothing else. But the answer isn't regulate or don't regulate. It's smart regulation. And because
smart regulation. Yeah. Smart regulation. What does that look like?
Silicon Valley Bank and other banks pushed for so much of a rollback, then there weren't the necessary.
What's the whole point of showing this? Cameraman, get onto the people that are speaking. God, man, corporate media, you do a terrible job doing this stuff.
Necessary stress tests and capital requirements that could have potentially kept them out of this. And also remember, they went from being a small institution with $40 billion in assets pre-COVID to almost $200 billion. They were so jacked up to grow so big, and clearly they didn't know how to grow into their much bigger shoes.
So, Congressman, I know you spoke.
Oh, come on, quit picking on the poor banks. All they are is just screwing over the American people.
Out in recent days saying the Treasury Department was not perhaps moving with enough urgency on this. Now we are a few days after the crisis. We heard from the president yesterday. How would you assess how the federal government has responded both before and after the collapse?
I said these days bank runs happen at the speed of Twitter, and I don't think the government was quite there on Friday or Saturday. But by Sunday, they were there, and that's what mattered. They had to be there before the markets opened, and so I give them a lot of credit for coming out and saying the most important thing, that is that deposits are protected. And
it's still happening, Roe. Come on, row your boat. The system's still falling apart. Everybody knew what SVB was doing, just like they knew what was happening in 2008.
In this country, depositors are protected. That's going to prevent a regional run, not just in Silicon Valley, but on regional banks. And they deserve credit for that.
Hey, folks, you think the government deserves a pat on the back? Type 1 if you think they deserve a pat on the back. Because you know something, Kit? They work hard. Our politicians, our U.S. government are filled with dedicated, hard people who know stuff, who have big brains, and are very pragmatic and smart. Type 2 is like, no, they don't. Screw these people. Screw our government.
Let's bring in right now the co-anchor of CNBC Squad.
All right. We're done listening to Ro Khanna. I was going to put on Katie Porter, but you know what? I mean, you know, let's hear this because, again, she's going to blame Trump. And it's easy to blame Trump. He's your Saturday morning cartoon villain. But, you know, I'm just looking forward to people melting down when he's running again in 2024.
5 years ago, when Republicans were last in control of the House of Representatives, they used the opportunity to roll back banking regulations put into place after the 2008 financial crisis. As that bill was making its way through Congress, California professor named Katie Porter tweeted her concerns, writing that it, quote, puts consumers and our economy at risk and shows just how much power Wall Street banks, powerful special interests, and their high-priced lobbyists have in Washington. The bill passed, but Porter went on to win a seat in Congress, and she is now fighting to get that bill overturned. Congresswoman Katie Porter of California, the ranking member on the House Oversight Subcommittee on Health Care and Financial Services.
How about reinstating Glass-Steagall? How's that sound? That sounds like a good idea.
Who is also running for Senate next year, joins me now. Congresswoman, it's great to have you back on the program. It's good to see you. So talk to me about the collapse here of SVB. It ranks as the second largest bank failure in the U.S., right behind Washington Mutual back in 2008, just ahead of Signature Bank, which also just happened a few days ago. What is going
on? Oh, yeah, Continental Illinois National Bank and Trust. Yeah, I'll save that story for a patron show. There you go.
On here?
Well, this comes from a failure to appropriately regulate big banks. And we had, after Dodd-Frank, appropriate regulations in place for exactly this size of bank.
No, you did not.
Big. And lo and behold, no more than Dodd-Frank passed, then people started coming around to politicians' offices, offering them corporate PAC checks and lobbying them to repeal those regulations. And we had Democrats and Republicans join in 2018 to repeal the very capital holding requirements that create a cushion for this exact size of bank. So for me to hear colleagues later, when this was happening this weekend, say this was unbelievable and how could this happen, was frustrating to say the least. This is what happens when we have politicians who cater to Wall Street instead of working families.
This morning.
So, all right. It's just bigger than just what happened under the Trump administration, though. What we are witnessing right now is a lack of accountability for previous other administrations. And I'm talking about the Obama administration. I'm talking about the Bush Jr. administration. I'm talking about the Clinton administration, because we have to look at what happened under previous other presidential administrations and what they did with their power, and how with the influence of Wall Street and the big banks, they created the system that we're living in now. It's easy to blame Trump. I get it. Yes, Trump has some responsibility to do with this economy too, but he's not the architect of it. It was like that when he got into office. And of course, him being the scumbag that he is, he's going to associate himself with the rich people in power like any other politician. And Trump is just like any other goddamn politician. I don't care. Democrat and Republican, there is no difference between the two parties. We're due for an economic collapse, and a lot of good people are going to get hurt, unfortunately.